In progress.
Hello and welcome. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how to create the endpoint. Since we have to create the endpoint, so in order to do that, how do you generally create an endpoint? And the general creation of endpoint demands actually the making of a, a, a CDS file. So let me just give you an idea that this is where you make a CDS file inside the DB folder, and there you have entities inside it. Okay, so and then you have the service layer of it, where you expose the entity, and finally, so when you do a CDS run, then you get the exposed endpoint. So this is how we get it. So this is the idea. So you see there are two endpoints over here, or the three. One is for the web application, where you can go and check out your app. And in the past video, I've used the same thing to make the app, make this particular project. So it's nothing new. If you want to check it, you can go to the mass upload video and check this app and everything regarding it. But the idea is to actually show the endpoints. So here we want to create an endpoint. So here we have got two endpoints already. Here, the third one will come over here. That will show the log data of your custom-made audit policy. And in order to do that, let's come back to our PPT. We have created an audit policy, and then we did the user management. If you haven't seen the creation of audit policy, and the name of the audit policy is students audit policy, and it has been given the insert, delete, create, select. So any user, if it inserts and do the following things, and it's a successful operation, then the log will be made inside the students audit policy. So you can then try to create the endpoint over here. So, and then you have the user management that we did in the second part of the series, where if you want to check out how the user management is done, where we created the user that is called as a user new one. That's the name of our user, and then we have created the roles and given the roles to the user. So this is what the current stage of our video series is. Another important thing over here is that when we come back to our CDS file, so we already see students and error and these two entities really present over there, and we have got the entity definition means how the entity should look like. So are we trying to create a third entity over here? So, and why do you even create an entity? Because you want to make a table where you want to upload data or create data or even retrieve data. So, which is why you need fields. But what if the data is already there in the database? So that's the real case. The data is already there in the database. Because once you create the entity students, let's say, and then after creation of this, then you either upload data and later on you retrieve the data. So this can only happen after the creation of entity students. But this particular entity that we are trying to use it to make an endpoint, so it as endpoint, that means the data is already there, because when you do certain things on these students entity, either you create or do whatever, it's logged somewhere. So these dependent data are already there in our database. So here is the real problem. So it's not like a simple entity creation. So what you do over here is that in order to, but then you need to create an endpoint. So you need to come over here and write the projection as you do in a normal case. So for that, you need to have an entity. So over here, we'll use an annotation And that's annotation discussed over here. That is called SAP persist.exist. That means the data already exists in the database. So we only will be doing that. We'll use this particular annotation, and we will then write the field's name. Those will be required over here. So once you use that persistence.exist annotation, and then if you use these fields name like these, so it will be having different fields name like timestamping and name of the audit policy and more details regarding it. So those fields name will be there, and whatever number of fields you want, you can use it, and that will only be used as a placeholder, not like real entity creation, because the data already persists in the database. So in order to do that, and another thing, that it's there in the database, but not local to your project. Like there is an HDI container for each of your project. So, and in the project, there is the data in your project HDI container. So if you go to the HDI container over here, you can see there are 3 HDI containers, and each is, if you leave the first one, that is the DB admin one. So the data is there for the particular project that you have made, and the data is there for this particular project. But the logs that those are generated are actually maintained in the DB admin, and it's not local to the project. But the data that goes into the log are from these areas, from these databases, or from multiple projects that you do. So anything that you do in any of your projects that is local to your database, then anything that you do goes inside this thing. That means when you go to the DB admin, and if you have, say, multiple projects, so there will be multiple, a lot of logs over there. And that's a real problem. You don't want all the logs. I am only concerned with, let's say, with my mass upload HDI container, and whatever is done at the base of at the level of the table, I want those logs to be used at the endpoint. So out of a lot of logs created over here, I want part of the logs to be used inside inside my mass upload HDI, or to be sort of connected to the mass upload HDI, and that should be used as the endpoint. So that's a real challenge that we have to do. In order to do that, so since the data is not local to your HDI container, but it is there local to your database, on a database. So for that, you do a lot of things to actually achieve your goal. So for that, what we did, we created our custom-made audit policy. As I told you, you can check the video out in the first part of it. We have made our custom-made audit policy, and we have next, what we have done, we have created a user management. Is we have created a user and a role over here. After that, what we are supposed to do is that, so there is a HDI container. So when I say over here HDI containers, what I mean to say is that I have got list of containers over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the number of containers are. So I've just headed it by saying HDI containers. So let's come back to the PPT. And in that, I have got the DB admin HDI container. I have got the project, what are the number of project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4 HDI container, right? So what I want to do is that I want to use some of the data, and specifically, I could say that the data logs, those are created in the DB admin, to be used in the project HDI by creating a synonym. So something is there, I'm just trying to create the same kind of synonym, means a replica of that thing into my project HDI. But if you know that in one of the videos, what I've shown, that how you can use some of the entity, let's say there is a project 1 over here and there's a project 2 over here. So if you want to use one entity of the project 1 inside your project 2, so so then in the project 1 you define the roles, and in project 2 you define the grants, and then you and in project 2 you define the grants and synonyms in at the project level, not at the HDI level, I'm saying, or HANA database level. This is what you do. There should be a project 1, and And equivalently, you should have a project 1 HDI container. There's a project 2, and you should have a project 2 HDI container, and you want to use the data of project 1 into your project 2, or rather entity, one of the entity in project 1 inside your project 2. But here we don't have a project 1 over here. We want to use DB-admin is already there. So you don't require a separate project over here to make a project 1 and then pass the information to project 2. DB-admin is already there. So in order to connect the two of the things, we need to actually make an offshoot of the HDI container, DB-admin HDI container. So it is very synonymous to an HDI container, but then it's like user-created provided service, a user-created service, and that's an offshoot of the DB-admin, where it will have the the username and the password details inside it, so that it creates a connectivity. It means it creates some kind of a link between the DB-admin and the project HDI. So something like a project 1, you can think it as a project 1 HDI container, this like project 2 HDI container. So in order to create a link between DB-admin and project HDI, we need to create a user-created service, where we'll pass in the password and the username. So supported. Why you need to actually pass their username and password, because when anybody is trying to connect to the DB-admin, it has to be authenticated at some level, and what level. So here the username that I'm using, like let's say I've created a user over here, user as a folder to user new one, and then I call it the role Dan as the role. So the name of the role is role Dan, and the name of the user is user one. So I'm using user one credential in this one, this offshoot HDI, so that this could be created. And why? Because it could be used as a template, not like really the user one is there, but used as a template to like authenticate, kind of how much you can connect to the DB-admin to your project HDI. So which is why you needed that. And after that, you're going to create a grant file inside the like a artifact you need to create over here, and the grant file. Sorry, here you're going to create the grant file, and the roles can be defined through the SQL coding and through the SQL console, or you can go to the user management and you can do it through the graphical method. Depends upon your choice. I've particularly used user management and the graphical method to do that rather than using the SQL coding. So if you want to do the SQL coding way, it's not a problem. You can still go to the DB-admin HDI container over here, and you can go to the OpenSQL console, and from there you can create the roles and you can run the user the roles also over here. So that's possible. Or you can go to this particular place. I think it's stopped, which is why it's showing the error. You can go to this particular place and go to the HANA cockpit, and there also you can do the same thing that you're doing at this level, by right click of the mouse button and then open SQL console, and then you can do it through the SQL coding, the picking of the user and the user role and granting it the role. Okay, and you can even make the roles also over there. Fine, depends upon which method we choose. Now coming back to our project. So for that, see, we already have the username created, the roles created, and the audit policy created. Now we want to create this particular. We want to create an offshoot HDI container, DB-admin. Okay. So before I move ahead, let me just extend my thanks to my brother who actually helped me to do that, and a couple of videos from the YouTube that made things work for me. So let's go ahead. So we're going to create the offshoot HDI first. So how we create it? We have our this file called as it's already there in the list. So okay. So here we have this thing. We'll copy it and come over here into a terminal and press Enter, Control C to come to your project, and then Control V. In this, it says that we are going to create this Cloud Foundry user provided service. So C is for create user provided services, and I've named that as offshoot HDI because it's an offshoot of the DB admin. So sort of like a donor project. If you have not gone through my cross HDI container video, you can go over there, but not necessarily required. If you want to go, you can go because there is a donor project, there is an acceptor project. So donor is giving something to the acceptor, and donor has got one entity that has to be given to the acceptor project. So I've done that. It's also a sort of like a donor that's giving something. So donor project, or in this case here is the HDI, and the HDI is using the username. Use a new one. That's my user that I had created in one of the videos in the second part. You can check it out. If you want to, and then the password is new 12345. So it's trying to authenticate. Anybody's trying to connect to the database. So it's not like that this username has to do that. It's sort of a template that I've used um, for connectivity. Okay, so and then you have got the tags and schema. Schema is BD admin. So this is what you're going to do, and the moment you press OK, it won't do that because it will say the service instance name failed. Because let's do one thing first. Since I've created it beforehand, so I need to delete it because it's not required anymore. I'll do it right away. So I'll just delete it. So and then recreate it from this thing. And I need a CF login also. So for that, we will do a CF login. Here I have to put the things. Okay, now I'll do the same thing. Enter. And it says creating user provider service offshoot HDI. So you can come back over here and refresh the page, check the thing out. What happened to this? Let's see. Stop. So let's start. Okay. You have refreshed the page at the dev level, and the instance is being created. You can see that. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's great. It's being created over here. It's beyond cloud. Okay, it's being started. Database, because we are using the crawl account. Okay, coming back over here, since we have created this thing, so an instance of that thing is actually also made inside the resource in the mta.yml file. So go and check it out. Well, then we have created it. Now we're supposed to add it into our database connection. So let's control plus plus. So here we click. Oh, this one is already there. It first. This thing. I already added it yesterday while making the video. I was not able to do that. So today again, I'm trying to make the video. So for doing it, I'll go for a deploy so that everything becomes fine and reaches the current stage of the project. So let's deploy the whole thing first. I don't know what the problem is. GenDB. So it's looking for the path GenDB. It's gone missing. So we need to go to the code to empty YAML file looking for GenDB. So that we have it, the DB deployer is GenDB. It's not, so make it GenDB. And that's it. Let's try to redeploy the whole thing just for a moment. Should I do hold it? Okay, so we have changed the path over here, and now we will try to redeploy the whole thing. See, so deploy it. Okay, so after doing this thing, now we can create our connections from here. So let's come to this point and add it. Database connection to our, let me just go to the PPT, to our this thing, offshoot HDI container. So what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to connect the project HDI to my offshoot HDI container. That could be used as a link between the DB admin HDI container and project HDI. So coming back over here, it says that user provided service instance, and then you have got the offshoot HDI, correct? Ask me to add it. So we'll add it. The database connection has been created. Offshoot HDI service has been bound also, so everything is done now. So after this, we are supposed to create the ground files and the synonym. So after doing this thing, since we have made a connection between the two, now we have to grant the roles and to the technical user and to the application user. So technical user will be called as the object owner, and the end user is the application user, or anybody who's using the application user. So they could have different level of roles to be granted to them. So we can come over here in the CFG file. So normally you won't see a CFG file. Let me delete it first. Delete permanently. Okay. And then I'll come back over here and create a new folder. I will call that as CFG and press enter. You see the CFG file is created. In that CFG file, the CFG file will create a new artifact. So these things, YAML, and that'd be there because we'll be using it. So you need to go to the flow toolbar and then go to view and command palette and look for create artifact. Okay. Create SAP HANA database artifact. So yeah, the grants. So, but you see the path is SRC, we need to make it CFG. I'll talk about why we are actually making it as CFG, not at SRC. It's trying to do everything at SRC level, but why at CFG level? So let's create it. SAP HANA Cloud. Here's the name of the artifact is grants. So HDB grants. So then that is audit underscore law and create it. Yeah. So let's delete the whole thing. Here, let's delete it. And we can bring the grants that we need from here. Control C and paste it, but the name of thing is not DBCS, but it is, what's the name? What's the name? Name is offshoot HDI, so this is the name. Let's type it. Root HDI. And here we have got the two candidates over here. One is the object owner and the other one is the application user. So anybody who's actually using the app, maybe the end user could be the application user, or somebody who's trying to select the data or do whatever, select, update, delete sort of thing. That's the application user, and this is the object owner. So the object owner is the one who's got the full control over the object. So and it has been given a role down. So these two roles can be put differently, depends upon the, like for the object owner, you can give update, delete, and sort of create. But for the application user, you can just give the role create to it. So you have to define in the role Dan, or whatever the role, like let's say it's role Dan1 in the role Dan. Here he has got more privileges for the object owner and less for the application user. So simply, giving the roles to these two particular people. And this is how the thing is connected. So once it is connected, we can deploy it also. So let's try deploy it and see if it is running well. And after that, we're going to create the synonym and check out inside the Database Explorer. Has it been done with? Once again, let's deploy it. I didn't see it actually. Yeah, so everything is working fine. And now we can go to our synonym and okay. So one thing, why did we put the HTTP grants as it is a database artifact, and normally database artifacts are kept inside the SRC folder? It's, you can understand, it's like, once the role, like it's something like this. This is the entry point. So this processing takes first. So once the entry point has been ascertained, that the the, the roles given to the particular, people over here, like the object owner and the application user, are ascertained and authenticated, then next level of work could be done. So which is why you need to put it in a different folder, and rest of the things, access to the different kinds of things like the synonym and all are there, could be accessed. So first, these things have to be, provided and authenticate it before giving access to the other set of artifacts. So then we are going to uh, create the next artifact, that is our synonym. And for that, you have to go to the same place and go to command palette, come over here and look for this thing. It's the same thing, but in this case, we'll be having a synonym. So we'll first delete it, type SYN, and we'll get HTTP synonym, and we'll call that as audit log synonym, AUDIT underscore log as a name and ring. So, and just cut it. I don't need this thing. It's going to come in the graphical mode. It will take a lot of time to get loaded. What we'll do over here, since the synonym is created, no. Oh, I did not change it. I did not change it, so let's delete it. Since I have not deployed it, I can delete it, because once you deploy the things and then you delete the files, that deployed part is already there in the database. That's a bit of a problem. So anytime when you delete something from here and then redeploy the whole thing and then try to create a new one, since we did not deploy it, so we can still go ahead and create it. So coming to this point, terminal, if you don't do that, you will get lots of error, and that's a big problem. You review command palette and create database. Here we could change the path. So the path is our not CFG this time, but it is SRC. And yeah, we're going to delete the whole thing to synonym SYN and put it and call it as happen. Let's call LOG log. Great. And you see the system is straight over here. Just cancel it. Go to open with and text editor mode, and come over here, and this is what the setting looks like. Copy the whole thing and Control A and B. So this is the name of this is the name of this thing actually. Namespace app that is appended to the audit log. And here is the target audit log, and the schema is sys. So the sys schema, the audit log is there, and this is what you are creating a synonym of a picture of a reflection of whatever you can say, the exact copy of. So when you go to synonym, and I'll take you to this thing, and okay, we'll first deploy the whole thing. Let's deploy it and see if there are any errors or something. Okay, so it's been deployed properly. So the object name is audit log, that is there inside our admin, and the same object is being created as a synonym, and schema name is sys. So it's the system, basically system audit log. Since the synonym of which you're trying to create in the app audit log, the name app audit log. So if you come over here and refresh the thing at this time, okay, it's working now. You can see a synonym is created over here. So if we go over here and check on synonym, this is the one that we created right now. Now, if you come, let's first try to check the data inside it, open data, and delete this particular thing. And you see we have got 66 rows, and let's go to DB admin and see what is there in it. In the catalog section, you come to the public synonym, and if you type AUD, I think it's also present in the sys. So you go to sys, if you go to schemas and go to sys, then you might also see that. So if you come to audit log over here, oh, that's a mistake. I'll just do it instead of directly opening. First press it open, and then again you see in the two audit logs, the one that was already there in the HDB, in the DB admin HDI container, the same sort of picture, the same sort of thing is in the app audit log. A synonym has been created, the same thing. But the point is that if you come and check out over here, you see there is a mandatory audit policy that's mandatory, but there is another one, that students audit policy that you have made. So I want only the student policies log data to be shown into my endpoint. So what I'm going to do is that in order to create the endpoint, as I said, I'll be using this one. It's the same project, nothing, but to get the entity and those things. So you see that it has got the same kind of field names like timestamp, post, and port. So if you come back to our own project and see inside our database explorer, it's a timestamp, post, port, service name, and you come over here to our new project. That is our a different one, but with the same thing. So you see timestamp, post, and port. So we can just simply copy it and drop certain fields if you don't want a lot of those things to come. So what we are basically trying to do is that we have used a annotation over here called as the CDS persistence exists. That means the data already exists in the database. So we don't want to create another set of entity for it. We are only using these things as a placeholder so that we should know how much of the things should come into our new endpoint. So if you try to control C and bring the whole thing into our project here, you see inside our data model. So we already have entity students over here. What we can do is that is paste it. Okay. So by doing this, you have created an entity, but it doesn't. But it exists somewhere in the database. So you're just using it as a placeholder. Now, after that, you need to expose that into your. Just delete these things, and then you can do one more thing. You can even bring the service part of it, the entity audit log projection as SS log instead of SS will app using app. So I show an error. So our namespace is app. So we're just projecting it. So if we do a CDS run after doing the CDS build, so let's press an enter and do a CDS build. So, and then deploying it at the root level, and we'll find the endpoint has been created. We've done the CDS build, and let's deploy the app. Okay, so things have been done, and just do a CDS run. And if you check now, back to our point. So if you check, there is another point that's been created that's called as an audit log. And if you go to the Fiori preview bit, then checking certain fields of it, let's say application name, audit policy user, application user, and else the object name and the role name and the audit policy name. See what see over here. What we see is that these are the fields; those are reflected, and it has got like mandatory audit policy and student audit policy and everything that we are seeing. But we're interested in student audit policy. So we need to make certain changes to at the level of our service. Uh, there's the service. So let's come back, and we want to use only parts of it. So let's make another endpoint of it that is, rather than calling it, you can just copy it from some other project where the same things has been used, and let's copy it and paste it here. Instead of SS, we're going to use the app, and the audit policy name is Dan3, and our name is students audit policy. Students audit policy. Let's check the name properly first. So it's the students audit policy. And then we write it away. Students audit policy is the name, and it says that in the new endpoint that's called as entity audit log, select timestamp, username, audit policy name, event action, and these fields from where? From the same app.audit log, where you have provided a where condition over here. In that, we are only going to select this student audit policy. So for that, you need to come to the terminal and do a CDS build once again. Control C and CDS, because you have changed it at the level of CDS. So you have to do a CDS build. So once you do a CDS build, you need to redeploy the app in order to see the changes in it. If you do not redeploy the app, then you might see the endpoint, but you won't see the data inside it. So everything is working fine. And let's do a CDS run. And, go to the new thing, and you see there's different one that's called as audit log 1. And if you want to check that during preview of it, then you would find everything that you want to do that. Select these fields, and you see, you can see that only there's only one information that's coming, and that's coming from students audit policy. So so any creation, selection, or anything that will be done at that level will definitely log the results. So we can just go to our database, and so let's come to this point. Or we can go to do one more thing at the CDS level. Let's do something. So let's delete this one. Okay. Payload. Where are we right now? Yeah. So let's delete some of the things from here. That's okay. Let's even draw the username for a while. Okay. So here we see three things are coming. Audit policy name, event action, and we did a select. Now, what if we go to our endpoint once again, and try to do something, create some data. So will that log? So we're going to browse over here. I don't know where the files are right now. So something like this mass upload. Desktop. Desktop is over here. You will see upload PGP. Mass upload Excel files. Mass upload students.xlsx. Net upload students file of failed. Why failed? Must be some other problem. Let's come. Let's try to do some more thing like some more data like so that's this one. Open students file code failed. Our problem is then try to some more like student ID is let's say 10, first name, last name. Address something like this. Let's submit it. Data submitted successfully. Now, since the data is submitted successfully, so I've done a creation. Has it been logged or not? So we can just go and check. What is this thing? Just delete this thing. Refresh this thing. Do another CDS run or something. Audit policy name, transaction, object name. That's it. Let's try to check it. Okay. So I think we need to do CDS run. CDS run. It to our February audit log. So just a gone and what's in it. So let's go to our tables. Table section. Check data inside students. Yeah, this is the one that we made the entry inside it. So create option is given to it right now, but which one is just check two fields successfully. One thing that's coming. Is this the one? Try to select, then maybe the create option is not given to it. So once you create, then should actually log the data. I don't think should probably the data has been created and it should log the data. Title. This. Let's go back. Log one. So we're showing two things. Let's add the timestamp. So on June 25th, data was created. It's only logging that data should ideally log. So let's go to our cockpit and check what's happening in our cockpit. So from here, the cockpit gone. In our cloud, we go to our database explorer. cockpit. Sorry, I said Explorer should be cockpit. Oh, oh, same. Okay. Move for a while. Go to our log and enable audit policy. Move for policy. So name property notice. Small s. There we have used a case s. Let's see if we have the trains over here or not. Date is 3rd and it says select. We're going to create or select. So insert. So this is the insert one. It's done today. So this shows successful and we inserted the name, DOB, and these things. So it's been logged over here, no problem. So, but it's not showing inside our policy because simply there could be error in our suppose name. So let's go over there, over here, rectify this thing. Let's save it. Resaves. And then I change that thing to do a need to do a control C and do a CDS build once again. After doing that, we'll deploy the whole thing. After deployment, the CDS run and go to our audit log 1. Just select 2 things in it. And now it's giving all the records we have chosen actually the wrong ones. And since audit policy has got so many logs which had been made in the past, and this is the insert one, and you see there are no insert ones over here. So if we go and do the timestamping, we'll get to know that it's created today. So the insert one, so is this one, and you can even see the state constraint that will let you know what we did on the insert. Back, yeah. Execute insert. It says that what we did. Insert ID first and last name address to that thing, and so which one is that? Okay, this is the insert one. Date is July 3. So, and we need to see whether they were successful or not. Event level status. Be a bit more helpful. Check out things. We can delete certain that is not visible. Yeah. Should log only okay, it's giving me information. can't be compressed anymore. So to our insert, show successful, select, here's the one. Okay, here is the insert with this thing. Okay, this is the one that we used, and it is successful because it's not checking the date format. So not a problem. It's just doing the thing for us and showing successful. So tried some more things on it, and payload procedure that it's calling the. This one is calling the stored procedure, and database and check out was the current status. Okay, so that mass upload did not work over here. Some problem, I don't know. But then our things are working fine. That's not a problem. So thanks for watching the video and thanks for your patience.